Welcome to the first episode of the Mantra podcast. It's a podcast where we went deeper into the minds of the CXOs to figure out what next. After a roller coaster ride in the year 2020, how do they plan on navigating their businesses in the post pandemic era? In the all new Mantra podcast, we are going to explore and dive into the future trends in the digital transformation in various fields. Today, I'm in conversation with Amit Sharma, Group Head Strategy and IT at Sidecare Cancer Hospitals, and CEO of Mantra Labs, Parag Sharma. To give a brief introduction, Amit has more than 22 years of work experience in clinical development, operations management, and strategy planning roles in Indian and global life sciences and ITES organizations. He's currently engaged with a team of passionate professionals who are working towards providing world-class cancer care to Indian patients. Parag is a 2002 IIT Kanpur alumnus who has been instrumental in successfully building products such as ProMagic, a visual AI no-code application development platform for businesses. A keen technologist at heart, he's focused on bringing to fruition Mantra Labs' vision to be a global leader in AI-based customer-centric intelligent experience innovations. Thank you so much for joining Amit and Parag. I welcome you to the Mantra podcast.
Thanks, Divya. Thanks, and pleasure here speaking to you and Parag.
Thank you.
We're happy to share our experiences. So, all set.
All right. So, let's begin. So, Amit, I have a question for you. The COVID-19 pandemic has dried up a large influx of hospital cash flows. Discretionary spend and non-urgent projects have been put on hold to focus on more urgent crisis spend, which has also impacted the ongoing digital initiatives. So, can you tell us a little bit about Sidecare's journey navigating the ongoing pandemic crisis so far?
So, Divya, as you very rightly stated, actually, the last year pandemic has infected every hospital. And in fact, it affected patient footfall, which in turn is directly related to cash flows. And to add to the hospital miseries or healthcare miseries, the additional spending related to COVID safety protocols was required. I mean, we have to ensure the complete safety of our patients. Face similar challenge. And especially, we have to ensure the safety of the staff at the same time. But what the major difference that we found as compared to many of the other multi-speciality hospital was that we had not an option of reducing or a mass reduction of the services, which some of the other hospitals were able to do. I mean, they were able to cut down some of those non-critical surgeries, some of those walk-ins, which was required just for a general well-being. But we being a tertiary hospital, a cancer-only hospital, most of our patients had to continue and carry on with their therapy. And even the new patients who were diagnosed, we had to take a call in terms of initiating the therapy. So that cash flow affected us. But the only advantage that we had was we were always a non-COVID hospital. I mean, the government agreed to our request when our discussion happened with the authorities that we just can't take our COVID cases out there because the workflow is such that we will not be able to manage or we will not be able to protect the cancer patients the way we operate within this infrastructure that we have. So we were very strict in terms of the safety protocols. And as most of the hospital did, we did all the safety precautions, including a staggering of the staff so as to protect the staff and the patients in case if any of them contacted or exposed to COVID. But at the same time, we also were able to implement some of the transformational stuff using technology. So one of which was something like a smart ICU concept or a remote monitoring that we were able to do, we were able to actually manage the situation in a much better way. So, I mean, at the end, if I kind of go back and reflect, I am extremely proud that as a hospital, we were able to manage this entire COVID situation without any major collateral damage. That's all I can say.
Yeah, if I may share our own experiences working with some of the large hospital healthcare chains in India, most of these people, when the COVID struck, they were definitely not prepared for that kind of situation. In our country, before the COVID happened, teleconsulting, telemedicine was something that had just begun. They were definitely not something that was widely adopted. And the doctors and the other medical staff was also not ready to accept the kind of technologies that eventually they became so used to it over a couple of months when we actually were able to deliver healthcare through teleconsult and telemedicine digital initiatives, which was possible only through some of those technological innovations that happened in recent times. Amit, I have a follow-up question on it. In case we have seen a lot of digital advancements in technology and a move and a push towards an open health ecosystem. Where do you think the kind of opportunities that we have right now, where do you think a couple of years down the line, what kind of opportunities we would have reaped in, and where we should be able to see ourselves with respect to adoption of a more open and an interoperable healthcare ecosystem?
So, I mean, as you rightly mentioned, we probably are in that kind of a nascent stage or a startup stage of this entire health data ecosystem that we are talking about. But I seriously feel that our country has successfully shown to the world that we have the capabilities of doing something transformational. Aadhaar is one such good example. So I see no reason that we can't do something which is transformational in the healthcare system. And this entire concept of national kind of a digital health kind of a platform or a health stack that we are talking about and the system, definitely it has a potential. So I see no reason that we can't do it. It's just that some of the organizations, some of the providers, they have to come out of their slumber. They have to come out of their reservations about technology, because I seriously feel now from going onwards, including this current time, the technology will be the driver. I mean, the way we practice medicine has also changed, but the principles of medicine has not changed. It's just how we are practicing it. And I mean, as you mentioned, big, small, all type of hospitals, including the individual doctors, I mean, suddenly they all had, I mean, they were forced. There was no other alternate.
Yes.
I mean, we jokingly say, and it's actually true that within a span of probably a week or a month, we just maybe leapfrogged by 10 years in the entire technology adoption in the healthcare industry, at least, if not the other industry.
Absolutely, very true, Amit. From a different perspective, all of us know that healthcare in India is a pretty fragmented thing. We have so many hospitals, we have diagnostic labs, we have small polyclinics, we have private clinics, and so on. And with that kind of a fragmentation, I believe this is the only technology which can bring about standardization, and then we should be in a position to reap a lot of benefits from coming in from the standardization and being able to exchange and share information in a more organized way, and which is expected to lead to a lot of benefits and positive results coming out of a greater role of technology and analytics that can eventually push towards a better health in our society.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, as a concept, if I see this entire digital, the health stack, if we talk of the entire digital ecosystem that we are talking about, as you rightly mentioned, it gives a huge potential. I mean, basically, if I mean, we can agree. I don't see a reason that we can't agree on the fact that this has a potential to become a backbone of the entire universal health coverage that the government is aiming towards. And this can be done in an efficient, affordable, and a timely manner using a technology.
Right.
And it has the potential to actually make citizens the owner of their own data, and ultimately also can help in terms of the aim of ensuring the continuum of care. So, means if one asks me the advantages or the potential advantages, some of which I can list, and there means you and me can talk for hours in terms of the potential. I mean, for people who are from the technology background and who also have an understanding of the healthcare, then the synergies or the advantages are numerous. But if I highlight maybe 3 or 4, if you ask me, then I would say definitely it will improve the delivery, probably the effectiveness, efficiency, transparency of the entire healthcare delivery per se. It definitely gives an access to individuals, much better control and access to their own data.
Yes.
Because now, as you say, many of these systems are disproportionate. I mean, they are disparate, they are not connected. So if what the government is envisioning, if we are able to move in that direction, then we are looking at probably have a kind of a seamless connectivity, which can even enable people to move from a private healthcare setup to a government healthcare setup, because that's the kind of control or access that we are looking towards.
Right.
Patient individually can have access to their medical records, and even the healthcare providers would be able to provide them the appropriate treatment and even follow-ups out there. But the other thing which probably I would also lay stress is that not many of the individual organizations might not be understanding the kind of advantages, overall advantages that something transformational like this can bring is in terms of the policy making, because the policymakers and program managers, they have access to such better data that they will be able to actually help in informed decision making. And last but not the least, since I'm also from the clinical research background, I always feel, I mean, for us actually data is the key. I mean, all the stress is on the collection of a good data, not the garbage data. And we are talking of enabling a collection of this data, because so this kind of data obviously will tremendously benefit the research industry primarily, because such aggregation of information will be able to provide a lot of good insight into the new development program, or maybe some of the other academic and interface, the academic industry interface also has the potential to reap benefit from this entire thing. So that's what I feel in this entire scheme.
Yes. Amit, you talked about data, you talked about IT systems, you talked about technology. The problem that we have seen in most of these IT systems adopted and used by healthcare institutions is that either they are monolithic system based on a certain software stack coming in from a large healthcare IT provider organization, or those are smaller custom built solutions that a large number of our hospitals use.
Yeah.
The problem that still remains is that we do not have an ability to be able to take advantage of a good innovation which might be happening outside, because an innovative product that might have come out of a startup is not able to talk to a homegrown system which is not complying with standards. Interoperability is one of the major fundamental problems of not being able to take internet-like sophisticated technology. And how do you think Indian healthcare should respond by either adopting standards, or is there any other way through which they can still maintain their current IT systems, but at the same time enable adoption of these technologies which are more standardized based technologies?
No, Parag, I mean, I would tend to agree that ultimately the standardization is the way to go, because we can't operate in silos. I mean, and especially when we are looking at a sort of a global initiatives like we have seen in case of pandemic itself. I mean, in the case of the drug development, it's virtually impossible in the days and years to come that any healthcare system which is operating in silos will be able to contribute in a way that they have a potential to do. So ultimately, I honestly feel that the providers or the healthcare system, they have to actually work very closely with government organization and the IT companies in kind of reaching out to consensus on some sort of a standardization. And as you mentioned, the challenge is huge, because say some of the private healthcare systems who are probably ahead of the curve, they have already invested. I mean, it will not be easy for them to convince and kind of agree to some of the standards which they are not complying to. And many of the other, or majority of the systems in India, or majority of the players in India, they are way too behind in terms of even talking about standards. So I mean, there is a diagrammatic difference out there, but maybe somebody will have to take, and I seriously feel the government is doing a lot of right steps in this direction, where they are trying to get people from different kind of stakeholders. I mean, I myself have been representatives along with the IT organizations, insurance, and the healthcare providers. They are trying to reach out. They are trying to create a framework, and I see this kind of step of creating a health stack is in that right direction. I mean, ultimately we will have to move there.
Right. Yeah, very well said, Amit. I think the direction is pretty clear. It is the standards which are going to help us take advantage of the technologies, without which, of course, no amount of sophistication in technology itself will be able to help us go through and really improve our ability to provide a quality healthcare for our patients.
I just have one question for the both of you, wherein you can share some of your views in terms of digital health records. According to the Future Health Index of 2019 report, India ranks well in terms of adoption of digital health technology, with 76% of healthcare professionals in the country already using digital health records in their practice. So, Amit, in terms of DHR adoption, is this a trend that you think will improve, or do you believe the ground reality is quite different from your experience?
No, there is no denying the fact that this will improve. I mean, there is no question that this will not improve. I mean, I was also a little surprised in terms of seeing this percentage which you quoted in terms of the number. I'm not a kind of somebody who has full sight of the way industry is operating. But and just to give you an example, I mean, our hospital is almost completely digital. I mean, the very few areas are where we use paper. Otherwise, we are completely on systems. So it's kind of a paperless daycare. It's like almost a smart ICU. So and I see that the similar trend would be there in almost all the corporate hospitals. The only the pertinent question to ponder about is, what are our standards? So that's probably what Parag was also mentioning, that those are the challenges. It's there, but otherwise this will grow. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, we have actually maybe leapfrogged by a decade in just a few months. So this will go ahead. And the other thing which Parag also hinted in terms of having the digital health records or the entire digital strategy is the amount of benefit that the organization can derive by this entire analytics which comes out from their digital data. I mean, there have been hospitals who would have maybe a decades of data, but the data is a junk data for them, because unless somebody goes and physically look into the file, it's virtually impossible for them to come out with any of the insight. Whereas the newer hospital like us, I mean, just to give you an example, we are only 4.5 year old with a data of around 15,000 patients. But since we were digital from day one, we have huge advantage of looking into the insight. I mean, by just a click of a computer, I can tell you the kind of cancers we have seen, the kind of demographic, the kind of output that is coming, and then we are even working towards even looking at something even more meaningful in terms of the patient outcomes. So this is huge, and this is something which a digital record only will be able to actually move it in a further. I mean, as far as current status is, we are actually away from an ideal scenario. I mean, as we were mentioning, there has to be a sort of a synergy between the small, medium players versus the big players and the government organization, because then we are talking of sort of a standardization into the industry. But I feel we are definitely moving in the right direction, and maybe Parag can definitely share his views on this.
Right. So, I mean, most of the work that we have done with a lot of healthcare institutions, we have been able to take advantage of the data which is available. Like, for example, some of our recent initiatives were being able to take advantage of the prescription data which was coming in from past records, and then be able to prescribe or recommend to the doctor that this is a potential medicine that could be used. Maybe it saves X amount of money for the patient, which the doctor might not be initially thinking of. So if a data is available and you can run analytics in real time or post facto, and you can actually derive very useful insights for advancing the clinical outcomes and experience of the patients. So those are the kind of things that are being used these days. A lot of technology initiatives are coming up. We are taking advantage of the technologies like AI, machine learning, building a recommendation engine, building a prescription engine, for example, to help the doctors in their prescriptions and so on. So those are the things which are possible only when there are standards. Again, I mean, however hard we try to overemphasize the standards, unless you have the standards in place, none of these possibilities are potentially true or it can be achieved. So, standards is the key. So without the standards, we really do not have much that we can take advantage of.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just to again reiterate on this, means I belong more to the life science industry. I mean, I work almost 15, 16 years of my life in the life science, and that too in the research industry. So, means probably we are talking of around 10 to 15 years back. I mean, we were in that same sort of a discussion out that how a life science industry could be part of the entire bigger ecosystem of the global life science development industry. And there exactly the standards was something that was suggested, and the industry has to kind of adhere to those standards. Then only the data which is generated from Indian life science industry can be accepted in the global submission standards. So basically, a submission standards, a reporting standards. So everything was drilled down to standards, and that now what we are talking, maybe 15 years or 20 years after that, the entire life science industry is in this healthcare industry, and we will move ahead. I mean, there's no question that we can't move ahead.
Well, standards are the key. I guess on that note, we have come towards the end of the podcast. Thank you, Amit, for taking out the time to join us in the first episode of the Mantra podcast and sharing some valuable insights on the current digital health trends. Thank you, Parag, for participating in this session and sharing your knowledge with us. It was indeed a very interesting conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you.
Thanks, Divya. Thanks, Parag. It was a pleasure interacting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.